Hello and welcome to this TDD tutorial, and welcome to the 7th section of this course. In previous section we had a chance to learn a lot about dependency inversion principle and some creational design patterns. Now it is time to talk about dependency injection and what it represents. There is a lot of confusion about what is the difference between dependency injection principle, inversion of control, and dependency injection. So let's see what dependency injection is all about. In this section, we are going to examine what is dependency injection, what are dependency injection patterns and frameworks, and talk about composition root. So let's start from the first video of this section and take a closer look into dependency injection itself. In this video, we will see the purpose, definition, and one example of dependency injection. First thing we need to understand is that dependency injection is not a goal, but it is a tool that we use to achieve more maintainable and testable code. Using this technique, our code will be loosely coupled. Dependency injection actually came out of TDD practices. Because using TDD, some of the necessary practices become evident. It is going to sound a bit like a cliche, but dependency injection is more the way we think about our software than anything else. So, why are we using this technique? Well, important thing to remember is that any code that has bad design will eventually become unmaintainable. It will become a spaghetti code. This will not happen with a code with a good design. Finally, let's define dependency injection. Dependency injection is a set of software design principles and patterns that enable us to develop loosely coupled code. In essence, it points to a need that collaborating classes should rely on the infrastructure to provide the necessary services. This means that for every class we are developing that has some dependencies, our infrastructure has an obligation to provide those dependencies to us. We will see how Hello World example will look like using dependency injection. Just a heads up, it will be over-engineered and very complicated for this kind of program, but it is just a demonstration to give us and put us in a certain proper mindset. Let's take a look at the code and see what we want to accomplish. Instead of one-line client class, we use this iWriter interface. Let's take a look at the code and see what we want to accomplish. Instead of one line in the client class that we will check out later, we will use this iWriter interface. It has this one method called writer hello world. This interface is implemented by console writer, and this one is actually using console class to write this line into console. And finally, this class is used by some client class, and as you can see, we created a field of iWriter type, we passed it through constructor, and we called it in this sayHello function. We already done similar things in previous examples, so you should be pretty familiar with this. But if we take a look at our test, we can see that we are passing a mocking object inside of our client class and verifying that this method writeHelloWorld has been called. And this is what dependency injection is. We are using our infrastructure, basically a test class, to pass dependencies into class that are needed to a client. Here is the UML diagram of this solution. So we are having an interface which is implemented by console writer, and then we are having a client which is using that interface. Test or any other class that will actually call this client method will instantiate both of these and pass console writer into a client. So why we did so much overhead using dependency injection here? First thing, this is a simple example, one line example to be more precise. As the complexity of the code increases, this overhead will decrease. Also, when you think about it from the single responsibility principle point of view, why should client class know where it needs to say hello? It could be a file or a database or anything else. It should do only one thing, and that is to say hello, and the real implementation of iWriter should take care of where that should be done. And if you remember of dependency inversion principle, nothing should depend on concrete implementations but on its dependencies. That is how we ended up with this kind of solution. Dependency injection has many benefits. It is great for late binding. Client has no idea what iWriter will be used until runtime. Extensibility is another big benefit here, because we can exchange iWriter with any other implementation, as we saw in the test where we changed iWriter with a mock class. And as already mentioned, code becomes more maintainable and more testable.